So we have been concentrating on what exactly a relational database will be having as a properties. Now here the question is, there are many number of relational database management system softwares in the world. Okay. We are learning a brand called as Oracle. But one thing you should remember, whether it's Oracle or it's from Microsoft or MySQL or IBM's DB2 or anything else, if you say it is an RDBMS, they should have these kind of general properties definitely. And the only language for communication is SQL. So when you say SQL, in Oracle, our communicative language is SQL. In MS SQL Server also, the communicative language is SQL. Okay. Am I clear with you? Please be responsive. So one of the question many times students ask me is, so if I learn Oracle's SQL, if say like I get an opportunity in the industry to work with MySQL, can I work? Definitely, you can work more better. Why? Because Oracle is one of the leading database management system softwares in the world. And it is technically designed in such a way, that its features are far more when compared with other database management systems that are already existing. So if you are learning every constructive point that comes into Oracle's SQL, you can work with any SQL very easily, because the features that are provided by Oracle's SQL are much more than any other kind of SQL that is existing in the markets. Am I clear? So what are the generic features of SQL? Means you take any SQL, what are very generic features that it will be having? The first generic feature when you pick up any particular SQL is, it is a language that will allow the end user or application developer to communicate with the database server. Okay, it is one single individual language that will make the end users and the application developers or administrators to directly communicate with the database server wherever the database server is installed and configured. So we don't need any other language. Therefore, any RDBMS server will communicate with only which language? Come on, only with a language called as SQL. Now here a few students can raise a question like, sir, my friend is working in Java. Using Java, he is communicating with Oracle database or MS SQL Server database. No. Within Java, he is using one kind of connectivity bridge called as JDBC. And through this JDBC, he is basically able to communicate with the Oracle database server only by using, once again, SQL statements. Am I clear with you? Try to understand that. Now, whenever you're dealing with your applications, any application development with SQL will definitely promises highest efficiency. The language itself is designed in such a way that it will promise you the highest efficiency for the sake of the application what you have developed. Show me one language that can directly promise you that you utilize that language, you will automatically develop applications with efficiency. But SQL promises you that. Therefore, the moment you put your resume saying that you're a database developer, the industry will confirm that you know SQL. The moment you say that you know SQL, the industry will confirm that you can communicate with database servers. The moment you keep your SQL, the industry will confirm that you are an efficient developer of database applications, because SQL by default has highest amount of efficiency in managing the databases, in making you develop the database applications. Therefore, when you sit in front of us, because your resume carries SQL, we already have certain amount of impression with you. Now, that particular impression, if you do not manage in the process of your implementation and execution, then that will become your own personal problem. Be very, very clear about this. The third point is SQL is a common language. SQL is a common language for all the RDBMS softwares, which is easy to learn and use. Okay, SQL is very practically easy to learn and also to use. Now, this is the only point that makes majority of the people to become very, very practically negligent. And later on, when they come into the industry, they start suffering. See, it is a language that is easy to learn. It is a language that is easy to use. But nowhere the technology or anywhere documentation says that it is a language that is used to develop applications easily. No. Application development has its own complications depending upon the business of the client and the type of the domain in which you are actually operating. That business integrated logic and domain integrated logic you have to develop only with practice. Why? Because industry needs you people to provide solutions for every simple or critical problem that is existing in the business. Therefore, industry doesn't need any learners and industry doesn't need any users. Therefore, this point is only to encourage the first time people. This point is only to encourage the first time people who are trying to learn this technology, to tell them that to learn this technology, it is very easy, and to use this technology, it is very easy. But finally, after you learn and you use this technology, you should have the ability of developing the applications as per the requirement of the solutions, what the end user is demanding from you. Therefore, I've seen people generally, sir, my friend told me that you please learn databases, you'll get a job. Show me any company that has given any kind of promise that if you know databases, I will give you the job. See, your friend has really got the job learning SQL, I don't deny it. But what is the way he practiced, and what is the way he really understood, and what is the way he really picked up himself to seriously get into the industry and get through the solutions? Please try to learn that. Therefore, finally, you should understand one thing. After learning this entire technology, how many times you feel that it is very highly convenient for you to provide the solutions? So, you need to pick up yourself to put your effort into the criteria of giving the solutions out of this particular language. No doubt, it's easy to start with respect to learning process and usage process, okay? But you cannot stop there. You cannot stop there. As we go down the line every day, should pick up your technological interest in getting through the solutions. Are you understanding me? So that should be the major focus for us. Be very, very clear about that. Now, whenever you talk about SQL, it is a language that is functionally complete. Okay, it's a language that is functionally complete by allowing the end user and the application developers to develop everything that is essential for the purpose of a database application. So when I say functionally complete, what I mean is using this language, you can define the required data structures that are essential for the sake of storing and managing your business data. Using this particular piece of the language, you can directly start collecting the required business data into those corresponding data structures what you have already created. Using this particular language, you can query and retrieve the business data according to the need of the business logic, what the end user is fundamentally putting in front of you according to different circumstances and situations that are arising within the business, to understand the different business processes and the events and their coordination of the requirement of analysis. This language is one single language that will help you in manipulating the business data. Manipulating means you can start updating the data or deleting the data by the requirement of your scenario of standards. So when we say manipulating, what we very clearly say is update the existing data by the changes that are actually happening or demanded in the business. Okay, you can start deleting the data or any data you feel that as far as your business is concerned, it is not essential or it is not necessary. That particular data, you can definitely delete it when you feel that it is not necessary. One single language that can handle all the constructs that are essential to the application development process. Therefore, it is called as functionally complete. Am I clear? Am I clear? Now, the another interesting aspect about your particular SQL is the general dialect of SQL is very much similar to your English language. Am I clear with you? The general dialect of your SQL is very practically similar to your English language. Means when you're operating with your SQL, you can always feel that you're just communicating with your technology in the construct of a language like English. That's the only reason. How much you are comfortable with your English makes a very, very critical role in learning your SQL. I'm not saying that you should be highly experienced and expertised in English, but at least you should have clarity of understanding the statements and their meaning when somebody is speaking with you and when you are speaking with them. That's it. Sir, I have some fundamental problem in, or I have some uncomfortable state in working with my English. Now, then I don't say you're a failure, but it can take some amount of time for you to get adjusted with the convenience of your skill. So we will definitely prove these things in the coming classes. What I mean to say is, how many times you can convert an English statement into an SQL statement? How many number of times you can convert an SQL statement into an English statement? That really makes a big lot of difference in your ability of execution. Be clear. Therefore, the more you are comfortable with your English, the more you will be confident with your SQL, which is very hard to believe. In the coming classes, I'll prove it, how you can be really getting into trouble if your English is bad when you're operating with your SQL. So there is no other alternate way. Start making up yourself convenient. The entire structure of SQL and any operations you're conducting in SQL are absolutely built on the collection of statements. Means within SQL, whatever we are writing, it is a statement. It is a statement. Therefore, we call SQL statements. So the more perfectly you can understand your English statements, the more perfectly you can start drafting your SQL statements. Be very practically clear about this. SQL is absolutely platform independent and architecture independent. Therefore, we don't have separate SQL for Intel processors. We don't have separate SQL for the AMD process, or we don't have any separate SQL for sake of Mac machines or Apple machines. SQL is common. On any kind of hardware platform you work or any kind of hardware architecture you are operating, SQL is common. That's first thing. Second thing is, whenever you're working with SQL, on which operating system your SQL is going to be operating is just not essential for the developer. You can install your SQL on any of the operating systems that are fundamentally available in the world. Now, operating system is only a botheration for the database administrators, not for the application developers. Therefore, many times students ask me, sir, shall I practice my SQL in Windows operating system or Linux operating system or Unix operating system or Mac OS? Operating system has nothing to do with your practice of your SQL as a developer. Am I clear? Because you're not installing and configuring your Oracle anywhere in your industry. You are people who will directly get into the industry and you start working on application development. So your DBAs will install and configure your Oracle, and they will give you one client machine where you need to pull your keyboard, get connected to your SQL, type your usernames and passwords, and start executing the SQL statements. SQL statements have similar syntax and same standardizations in any operating system and any hardware architecture. Therefore, if anybody says that SQL will be having a change according to the type of operating system, it's wrong. Okay? Okay. It's purely platform independent and architecture independent. Therefore, in whichever operating system you feel you are convenient, you can practice your SQL. But for first time beginners, what I say is, generally out of all the different operating systems that are existing in the market, which operating system is more easy to handle and operate? Tell me. Hello. Windows. Okay. Obviously Windows. Even a child can operate on Windows. Therefore, if you are a first time beginner and you are very new to the computer science environment, better you see that you're practicing your Oracle in Windows. Sir, because of practicing in Windows, will there be any advantage for me? Nothing. Oracle will be same. But because your operating system is convenient for you, working with your Oracle will be more easy for you. That's all. Sir, one of my friends said, it is better you know Linux or Unix also as operating systems. Yes, for all the people are keeping experience, I do not deny that it is better you have an idea on operating systems like either Linux or Unix before you enter into the industry. Because in your day-to-day development life, you have to deal with different operating systems on the platforms on which you could be configured in your industry. So generally Windows or Linux. So if it is Unix, don't worry. Unix and Linux and Mac operating systems, they have the similar kind of style and strategy. So anyone, if you learn, that's enough. And that too, you should learn either Linux or Unix or Mac OS based operating system only for one purpose, man. The purpose is when you get into your industry, 99% of the environments in industry with respect to the servers, especially servers, will be either on Unix or Linux. Then when you're interacting with your client environments, where you are basically trying to work on some maintenance support like environments, you could have been given an environment of a machine which is containing either Linux or Unix. So you should not feel inconvenient in communicating and operating within that operating system. So to that level of the OS, you should know the commands, because Linux and Unix are mostly command based environments. They always communicate only when you type in commands at the command prompt. Now that looks inconvenient after you work with Windows with all that graphics and icons, mouse, drag and drop and double click and single clicks. Initially, you don't need to take any risk of learning any OS like Linux or Unix. First, make yourself comfortable in understanding your Oracle very effectively. Slowly, as you are feeling convenient, later on you can learn Linux or Unix commands with minimum shell scripting knowledge. That is good for people keeping experience and you're trying to enter into the industry. Having the knowledge of Linux as an operating system with commands and fundamentals of shell scripting is better. When your resume is getting shortlisted, say like I'm having some 10 resumes in front of me, out of which 8 resumes are having Oracle with Windows as OS, but 2 resumes are having Oracle with Windows plus Linux or Unix as OS. We will first shortlist these 2 people having Linux or Unix in their resume, because we give priority for them. On that particular criteria, it is better, before you try to keep your leg into the industry, you spare your time to learn Linux commands and basics of shell scripting. Definitely, that's the only suggestion I'll give you. But as far as your personal machines is concerned, it's just cool. You can work on your Windows based environment without having any hesitations. Now, whenever you deal with SQL, it provides standard API to integrate with any business logic technologies. Means it is having one standard API, application programming interface, through which you can directly get connected to your database with any other technology and start working. That single API is SQL. The single point of communication with your databases is a language called as SQL. So it's a standard API throughout the world. Are you getting me? Therefore, don't get confused when you're sitting in interview rooms and you close the interview. When you're getting your offer letters, say like your company is saying that we are going to take you into a project of, say like Java. Don't get confused, okay? They also know that you're not actually for Java. You have not attended any Java interview. But when they say that we want to take you into Java, it means that there is a project in that company, a team of Java developers are working with the database connectivity or database integrated application. You will be taken into that team and you will be supporting these Java developers with your SQL and your PLSQL skills. Are you catching my point? The same way, after you complete your interviews, your interviewer can say that we are very happy to select you. We are about to keep you into the project with SAP. Don't get confused that you have to learn SAP. Okay? It means that within that particular project, you are going to support the teams that need SQL integrated services by writing the SQL queries and other kind of stuff from your side. So, using the single individual language, the developer can directly operate on the data without carrying the internal technology. Okay, without having any knowledge on the technical internals of the computer and its architecture, everybody can work with this language to make the application development to happen successfully in the whole process. Am I clear with you? So now I don't want anybody to raise a question like, sir, I'm a electrical engineer, I'm a MBA graduate, I'm mechanical, I'm civil. Nothing in the world with respect to academic qualification has anything to do with your SQL. Everybody can learn this language called as SQL and they can work for the application development in databases. Am I clear? It is only a small amount of confidence that you could be lacking, and that particular confidence is what I'm going to build. Okay, that's what is my responsibility. You don't worry about that. And trust me, you are from any academic background, that doesn't matter, Shman. But finally, I can promise you, if you're going through the sessions very, very properly and effectively by listening to every point what we are discussing in practicality and concept, you can work at par and sometimes more better than your computer science graduates who are coming from the IT backgrounds. But you have to put your effort the way I'm expecting from you. Now, I think you are seriously ready for that particular level of contract, and then you have made your mind to get into that particular type of seriousness. Now, before I just kickstart myself into the criteria and composition of the SQL and its implementations, let us just see what is exactly meant by a concept that is fundamentally called as entity relationship model. See, one thing you should always keep it in your mind. Industrially, when you're operating, industrially, whenever you're trying to operate, you should always recognize one constructive point. You should always recognize one particular constructive point on the criteria and composition of the applications, whatever you are trying to develop. We are definitely working for RDBMS applications. Okay, we are definitely working for RDBMS applications. Do try to understand these particular factors very clearly. So, all the RDBMS applications in the world, let me make it very clear to you, all the RDBMS applications in the world, they technologically get developed upon one standard model. They just get developed upon one standard model that is absolutely called as ER model or entity relationship model. And this entity relationship model is nothing but it is one kind of pictorial representation, man. Okay, entity relationship model is nothing but one kind of pictorial representation to make the process of the database application development look much easy and much effective for any particular end user or the developer. Am I clear with you? So, I'm not saying that you should be an expert immediately in entity relationship model, but even if it is looking tough, I don't care. You should have clarity on certain fundamental standards what this entity relationship model speaks. As I'm taking you throughout the course, I'll make the things definitely come to one level where you can sit comfortably in your projects and you can start working in your application by understanding this entity relationship models effectively. Am I clear with you? Hello? Can I continue? So try to understand these compositional factors very, very clearly. So what I say is, even though entity relationship models are very practically a different kind of subject for their own existence, but immediately you don't need to really think about making them get through the process. But certain amount of information, what we really need, you have to catch up. Okay, just follow with me point to point of what I'm just trying to speak. Especially first time beginners, I want you to keep your concentration to the points what I'm trying to speak. So whenever you're trying to speak about the rule of the entity relationship model, first thing you should remember is an effective system demands the data to be divided into discrete categories or entities. Okay, that single point you should understand very carefully. An effective system demands the data to be divided into discrete categories or entities. That is the first principle from where your RDBMS or entity relationship models will begin. What is meant by effective system? Effective system means A perfectly developed business operational environment. A very perfectly developed business operational environment is called as effective system. So whenever you say that it is one system that will be effectively operating for conducting its business operations, it means that the data within that particular system should be divided into discrete categories or entities. What is exactly meant by divided into discrete categories or entities? That is what you should understand very seriously. So for the next few minutes, you have to come along with me through the process. Okay. Now, whatever I'm trying to do, you just try to concentrate. As you're coming along with me, you'll try to understand what I'm exactly trying to speak with you. So just try to concentrate in this Excel sheet for some time, man. Okay. Now, every time we develop a system, now we are developing a system keeping in mind some business environment. Do you agree with me? So I am taking a system where I want to maintain the information about my students who are studying in the college for different kinds of courses, man. Okay. So for a good businessman, he needs the total information of student or not. So definitely, I think I need one particular entity that is called as, say, like I'm saying, student information. The name of my entity is entity or table, whatever you call it. It is, say, like student information. Now, to identify the student, I think I need definitely certain amount of properties. So you just watch here. I'm saying student. Now every student needs the first name. Now say like I'm having something called as middle name. Then I'm having my last name. Then I'm collecting the full name of the student. Then I'm just trying to say birth date, the student's house number. Then I'm having the street name, city name, state name, country name, pin or zip code, then the age of the student. To communicate with the student, I need the mobile number and the mail ID of the student. If the student is joining any particular course, I should know the course name. Every course has its own description. So the description I'm collecting, then the course fee, the course type, then we are having the course duration. Now, any student if is joining the course, it should be associated to some college. So college name, in which college is studying. Then I'm having the college address. Now college phone, college mail ID. Then I'm having college website. A college is definitely associated to one university. So now I'm just taking the university name to which this college is actually belonging to. Then I'm having the university address. Then to communicate with my university, university phone. Then we are having university mail ID. Then we are having university website. Okay. Now, this is the data I'm collecting to identify my student with respect to the course and the colleges and the universities. Now, I just want your participation, and because if you participate, you'll understand, else you'll not understand. I'm telling you. This is actually, according to me, this waste of time. But according to you, and as a beginner, you should understand certain things here itself. What is exactly an entity relationship model concept you need to catch here? The rule is simply saying that an effective system demands the data to be divided into discrete categories or entities. What it means actually. Now, I want to develop an effective system for students management with respect to the course and the college and the university. So according to that, don't you think that this total data is essential for managing my student or not? Yes. So can I say that this is one table I need to create or one entity I need to create to manage my information of the student in my business? Do you agree with me? Now, according to you, what you're saying, yes, is absolutely true. I'm not denying it. But if you talk to a professional who is working on RDBMS, okay, if you talk to a professional who is working on RDBMS, he says, no, this is not a correct entity according to the rule of relational database management system principles. Means according to RDBMS principles, this is not a correct entity. Sir, how you can say that? See, we said like an entity should represent a specific object that is represented in the business. Am I correct? Now you are saying this entity is which entity, which kind of object? This entity is which kind of object we are saying? We are saying student. If you are looking into this, the whole data looks very perfect for us. But if you concentrate very carefully, watch carefully. This is actually the data that is representing the student. But if you look very sensitively, this is the data that is representing your object called as course, which is not actually student. And in the same way, if you can further go for serious concentration, this is the data that is representing or that is describing your object called as college. But you are saying that this is an object of student. So see, this information is essential for student, but this information is not actually describing the student. It is describing some other objects, yes or no? But an entity should describe a particular object in the business, not every different kinds of objects. Therefore, according to RDBMS principle, this is not a student data. As a student entity, this is not correct. But I need this information in my business. I'm not denying it. But if I put it into RDBMS, I cannot collect all this data into one single place. There are many reasons why we should not. Okay, that is something we'll understand as we gain our experience. Let us not worry. But few fundamental things you need to catch now. Second thing, According to the principles of RDBMS, this column is not acceptable. Full name is not acceptable. Why? When you are already registering the first name, middle name and last name, can't we derive this particular data directly by using programming skills? Yes or no? So according to RDBMS, this column is not acceptable. This full name is not acceptable as per RDBMS standards, because it is derived data. It is derived data. Any derived data we should not register into the table, because it is waste of space and memory, where the data can be presented to the end user by directly deriving it at runtime. The same way, if you can just concentrate, this age is also not acceptable, because age is a dynamic component or static component for a human being. Tell me, dynamic. So when you have already registered the birth date, now this date of birth is not, this age is not acceptable to the standards. So an RDBMS developer will be looking into the information with such a lot of sensitivity. Am I clear with you? Therefore, it is a mindset. RDBMS is a mindset of analysis. When it's a mindset of analysis. The second thing, when you say that this is an entity of student, then definitely as per the principles of RDBMS, this data cannot be within this table. This data cannot be within this table. I'm separating it. Now, this is absolutely which information? That information is only representing what? Courses. So now I can say this is course information. So this entity, whatever you are seeing here, this entity, what you are seeing here, it's a discrete entity only representing to the object called as courses or not. Can two courses have the same details? No. So to keep it in identity of requirement, I'm adding one course ID here, which will manage my information of the courses not to get duplicated. Now I want one answer from you. Forget about this particular data, man. Okay, I'll talk about that later on. But can I say this is students' information? Yes or no? Definitely not. It is not students' information. Can you tell me why it is not students' information? From my side, if you're asking me seriously, I'll say no, it's not student information. So can you tell me the reason why it's not a student information? Hello? See, this information can be for any human being in the world. Do you agree with me? Yes or no? So you can call that information as student only when he is joining a particular course. Until he doesn't join a course, then you cannot call it as student. It is just a human being. Am I correct? But course is available here now. Course and student got separated. So according to RDBMS, what we do is, one of the main property of the course, which is very, very important for identifying the course, we will keep it into the student area. only register that most important property that can recognize the course into the student. So now can I say this is student information? Yes or no? Definitely yes, because he is having some course ID where if I want to know what is the course my student is studying, so I'm very clearly saying that if you want any details about the course, you please go and search here. Am I clear with you? So if anybody is asking that, can you give me the details of the course? I'm saying that please go and search the details of the course in this location. So am I not interconnecting these two particular entities now? Then in the same way, this is information representing which object? It is representing the object called as college. So separate it. So now can I say that this is college information? Come on. So this is one discrete entity that is describing only the object called as college in your business. Can two colleges have the same kind of information? No. So to make ourselves convenient, I'm adjusting this as college ID, which makes my college to get identified uniquely. Now, one college will have courses or course will have colleges. What is your opinion? Come on, college will have courses or courses will have college. Colleges will have courses. One college can have only one course or many courses. Many courses. So definitely I should know each college is having how many courses and the type of courses. So here we are creating one more entity called as college courses info. And then what we are doing is we are calling the college ID here and we are taking the course ID here and we are trying to manage that data. Now we are interconnecting this relation. With this one, saying that whenever you want to get the information of your particular colleges and the corresponding courses, you please go and look into those particular tables. So now I got the fourth entity, which is acting as a bridge between my colleges and the courses. Do you agree with me? Hello. And I can have more amount of other information also. That's up to us. Now this is my object called as what? University. Am I correct? Now, this is only carrying the information of university, yes or no? So, I am saying that this is university information, where every university should be unique by its nature. So, I'm keeping this university ID. Now, college is in the university, or university will be having colleges. What is your opinion? University has colleges or college has university? University has colleges. Yes or no? One university can have only one college or many colleges? Many colleges. So every college should be registered for a university or may be registered for a university. Come on, should be registered. Okay. So just watch here very carefully. I am taking the university ID, and then this is your college ID, and here I am saying university college info. Okay. And I'm very clearly saying that can go and fetch your college data from here, and it's a university data from here. When we started this application, we started with how many tables? Tell me. We started with how many entities? One. But by analysis, slowly it became how many entities? 6. Are you understanding what is meant by discrete entities now? Now, how best you can do it, you don't worry, man. But the single statement on my screen has such a lot of effort in the process. Therefore, any effective RDBMS system will always demands the data to be divided into discrete categories or entities. Are you understanding this construct? Are you clear with that statement what I gave there? And this particular kind of process is called as system analysis or ER modeling or normalization. Okay. There are multiple different ways people will call it. We call this even data normalization principles. So when you say that, Oracle, we are not only bothered about SQL, man. SQL is one of the requirement. It's not the only requirement to get a database job. Therefore, an ER model illustrates various entities in a business and the relationships between them. If you look into this, are you not understanding the different kinds of entities, how they are participating in the business and how they are interconnected or related? Is it becoming easy for us or not? So an ER model is illustration of various different number of entities that are existing in your business and the way they are actually related, or the way the relationships are existing between them will be illustrated. Now, whenever you talk about an ER model, every ER model is built during the analysis phase of the system development life cycle, which is generally called as SDLC. If I analyze and develop one relation like this, don't you think that throughout my project, all my programmers, developers, and administrators are having the same idea now? Yes or no? So it is the first phase of your entire project. Be very, very clear about that. Therefore, any mistake done here, it is a mistake throughout the project or not? That's where industries will spend great amount of money in this, and they give huge amount of salaries for people who can design and analyze like this. Very high level pay packages, man, you can't even believe. Along with your SQL, you're having this kind of stuff. Let us say you're a hotcake to the industry. So whenever you're dealing with a ER model separates the information required and the business from the activities that are performed. You watch carefully. It is separating the information of student with the activities that are conducted on the course. Yes or no? It's not giving both together into one single place. The job of ER model is to separate the information and the activities that are conducted within the business by the objects by their own discrete standardizations. It is automatically separating that. So programmers will always have easiness to understand and implement their applications or not. So whenever you deal with your ER model, what are the fundamental benefits? What are the fundamental benefits of an ER model? Just now we have seen the basic things you can always understand is ER model itself is a documentation. ER model documents the information for the organization in a clear, precise format. Once in your career, if I explain this model to you, is it not practically easy for you to go and understand any model of your RDBMS of any particular other project also? Is it not making your whole lot of your business become one single piece of pictorial representation and interconnected states? So ER model itself is a documentation for your business. And when you're talking about your ER model, it provides a clear picture for the scope of information requirement. Clear picture for scope of information means what? This is my student's information. He is studying this particular course, but I want details of the course. It is very clearly saying that if you want more details about the course, go here. So I am having interconnected information about the data very effectively, clearly defined, provides an easily understood pictorial map for the database design. Is it not a simple pictorial representation of entire database design that's going to happen? Hello. So you're just converting the entire application into a simple pictorial representation. So whenever you deal with a ER model, it is itself a framework. It is an effective framework for integrating with multiple applications. Means what? Now your project is now getting developed in Java with Oracle, or .NET with Oracle, or PHP with MySQL, or Python or Django with database like Oracle. It doesn't matter. Every developer in the world with any technology, he has to follow this model, and according to this relationships only you should develop the entire code or not. Am I correct? So ER model is one effective framework for administrators, architects, analysts, end user, application developer, testing engineer, deployment engineers, maintenance engineers, support engineers, enhancement or change request engineers. Everybody should follow the ER model once it has been developed, because the whole business is running exactly on those particular relations, nothing more than that. So ER model is a fundamental mechanism to make you understand the rule of the data by its existence in the business, and the way that particular piece of the data is interconnected for its standard of representation by the requirement that is arising within your business processes and your applications. Be very, very clear about that. By looking into this, are we not understanding with our common sense how the data is flowing from one area to another area of the application, and everything is one individual integrated business entity which is discrete by its nature. Am I correct? These ER models are generally created by the data modeling engineers, where these data modeling engineers are also people sometimes who are functional consultants, business analysts, and SQL developers. Okay, that's where with how many skills you are coming into the industry, that makes a big difference in your career. So if you are keeping experience in your resume, and if you are coming into the industry, definitely you like or you do not like, there is always a chance your interviewer can ask you, can you just tell me how did you really sit and analyze your project in which you have been working, because you're saying that you're already 3-4 years of experience. Only SQL is not important for me, because with only SQL even a fresher can work in my company. Why I should take you by giving you 60,000 or 70,000 per annum salary, sorry, per month salary. So sitting in this particular course, our major contract is for SQL and PLSQL. Okay, but there are so many different number of concepts and technology integrated aspects, design integrated standards, what you should understand if you are seriously keeping your resume with experience. So that's a very small and very simple and easiest way to understand what is ER model. Am I clear? I don't say that you became an expert in this, but I think you got a very basic rough idea. Okay. If somebody is asking you what is an ER model, I think you can explain it. Hello. So you just beyond that particular process, man. Now it's time we should understand how we can install and configure Oracle on our machines now. Okay. If you're already having Oracle configured on your machines and it's already installed, don't worry now. For those people who are not having Oracle on their machines and it is not configured, for only those people I'm keeping the concentration of my discussion in tomorrow's session. Okay. If you're having any other database, it's okay, but you have to, it is always better you practice with Oracle, definitely, man. Okay. Are you getting me? So I will give you the basic idea of how to install and configure Oracle. Following my presentation, if you are going as it is, you can definitely make your Oracle to get installed on your machines very easily. So it's a very important session for those people who are not having Oracle on your machines, because you need to definitely have your software to work now. So tomorrow I'll spend my whole time onto that process. I'm not going to show you the installation mechanism, but I'll show you the total steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Listen to that very carefully. And after listening once or twice, then you please see that you're getting into installation. Don't be in a hastiness and start installing immediately. Why? Because once Oracle is installed in your machine, there is no uninstallation methodology for that. There's no straightforward uninstall. It's a very fundamentally critical for first time beginners if you don't do it properly. Therefore, before you install Oracle on your machine, listen and understand and cross verify the discussion what I did in the class multiple times, and then take the chance of installation. Okay. Am I clear with you? But if you are following point to point what I'm speaking, you can definitely do it. Don't worry. Anyhow, let us see how we'll complete that particular process in tomorrow's session. Thank you very much. Once again with you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Take care of yourself. Good night.